Did you know that every year over 100,000 Americans die prematurely due to air pollution? That's right. It's a shocking truth. A silent killer lurking in the very air we breathe. And it's not just in the places you'd expect. You might be picturing the smog-filled skylines of industrial cities or the traffic-jammed streets of bustling metropolises. But the reality is more surprising and far more insidious. The worst air pollution in the United States is found in a small town tucked between farmland and mountains, miles away from the hustle and bustle of city life. It's a stark reminder that air pollution is not an urban issue alone. It's a national crisis, and it's affecting Americans across the country. But the story doesn't end there. Picture this: 10 American cities, each one a hotspot for fine particle air pollution. Birmingham, Atlanta, Central Pennsylvania, metropolitan St. Louis, Houston, Indianapolis, and more. Yet these hotspots are not evenly distributed. They're predominantly located in neighborhoods where Black and Hispanic populations live. It's a disturbing truth. Race, it seems, is a stronger predictor of air pollution exposure than income level. It's a legacy of historical segregation and discriminatory practices, a stark reminder of the social and racial disparities that persist in our society. These fine particles, known as PM2.5, are emitted by cars, factories, wildfires, and agricultural activities. They can cause respiratory disease, heart attacks, strokes, and other health issues. They're invisible to the naked eye, but their impact on our health is all too real. The question remains, why are these areas so heavily burdened by pollution, and what does this mean for their inhabitants? Let's delve into the top 10 hotspots for air pollution in the United States. We're starting with a surprising entry: a small town nestled between farmland and mountains, where the air is thick with fine particles, known as PM2.5. These particles, emitted by cars, factories, wildfires, and agricultural activities, can cause respiratory disease, heart attacks, strokes, and other health issues. Next on our list is Birmingham, a city with a rich industrial history that has left a legacy of pollution. The city's factories and cars are significant contributors to its poor air quality. Atlanta, famous for its bustling traffic, comes in third. The city's heavy reliance on cars results in high levels of air pollution, making it one of the most polluted cities in the country. Central Pennsylvania, with its mix of industry and agriculture, is our fourth hotspot. The combination of factory emissions and agricultural activities contributes significantly to the region's air pollution. The metropolitan area of St. Louis is another pollution hotspot. Sitting at the intersection of the Missouri and Mississippi rivers, the city's industrial activities and traffic congestion contribute to its poor air quality. Houston, known for its oil and gas industry, is next on our list. The city's factories, along with its heavy traffic, contribute to its high levels of air pollution. Indianapolis, with its mix of industry and agriculture, is the seventh hotspot on our list. The city's factories and agricultural activities play a significant role in its pollution levels. The last three cities on our list are still being determined by ongoing research, but what we do know is that they are spread across the country, each battling its unique mix of pollution sources. These cities, though diverse and scattered across the country, share a common problem. They are all choking on air pollution. But what does living in these pollution hotspots actually mean for the people who call them home? Imagine waking up each day not to the scent of fresh air, but rather to the heavy, invisible weight of fine particles, known as PM2.5, hanging in the atmosphere. These particles, emitted by cars, factories, wildfires, and agricultural activities, are so minuscule that they can infiltrate the deepest parts of our lungs when we breathe. Inhaling these particles over a prolonged period can lead to a myriad of health issues. It's like inviting an unwanted guest into your body, a guest that can trigger respiratory diseases, heart attacks, and strokes. It's a silent predator that stalks its prey unnoticed, silently causing harm over time. But this issue isn't just about health. It's about people, communities, and the disparities that exist between them. It's about the neighborhoods that bear the brunt of this pollution. In these hotspots, the majority of the residents are Black and Hispanic populations, communities that have historically been marginalized and are now disproportionately affected by the air they breathe. The air pollution in these areas isn't just an accidental byproduct of modern life. It's a legacy of historical segregation and discriminatory practices where polluting industries have been disproportionately placed near Black communities. This isn't an accident. It's an injustice that spans generations, affecting the health and well-being of countless individuals. These communities are not merely statistics in a report, they are mothers, fathers, children, and grandparents. They are people with dreams, aspirations, and the right to a healthy life. But their lives are overshadowed by the threat of diseases caused by the very air they breathe. Air pollution is not just an environmental issue, it's a health crisis and a social justice issue. It's a complex problem, woven into the fabric of our societies, and one that requires our immediate attention. So, why are these cities so polluted? Well, the answer lies in a mixture of historical, social, and economic factors. It all begins with industrial growth. As cities evolved, industries were often placed in areas where land was cheap and regulations were lax. Unfortunately, these areas were also home to marginalized communities, predominantly Black and Hispanic, who had been historically segregated and discriminated against. This pattern of placing polluting industries near these communities has continued, even as our understanding of the health impacts of air pollution has grown. We now know that fine particles known as PM2.5, emitted by cars, factories, wildfires, and agricultural activities can cause respiratory disease, heart attacks, strokes, and other health issues. But despite this knowledge, our cities and industries have been slow to change. In fact, researchers have found that pollution patterns have remained relatively steady over the years. This means that even today, the same communities that were exposed to pollution decades ago are still facing the same challenges. And the data doesn't lie. Birmingham, Atlanta, Central Pennsylvania, Metropolitan St. Louis, Houston, and Indianapolis are still among the most polluted areas in the United States. But it's not just about the placement of industries. It's also about the types of industries we allow and the emissions they produce. Heavy traffic, industrial activities, and agricultural practices all contribute to air pollution. And while cleaner technologies exist, they are often more expensive and take time to implement. This is a complex problem, and it's not one that can be solved overnight. But it's also a problem that we can't afford to ignore. Because the truth is, the air we breathe affects all of us, regardless of where we live or the color of our skin. The root causes of air pollution are deeply embedded in our society, and tackling them will require systemic changes. The future may seem bleak, but there are ways we can all contribute to reducing pollution. Imagine if we all made small yet significant changes in our daily routines. For instance, taking public transportation, cycling, or walking instead of driving reduces the number of vehicles on the road, and consequently, the amount of pollutants released into the air. At home, consider conserving energy, turning off the lights when you leave a room, using energy-efficient appliances, and reducing the use of air conditioning and heating can significantly lower the demand for electricity and, in turn, the emissions from power plants. Lastly, we can influence change on a larger scale. Support policies and legislators that prioritize clean energy and stricter air pollution regulations. Encourage your workplaces to adopt environmentally friendly practices. Advocate for your local community to implement green initiatives. Remember, every small action counts. Together we can clear the air for a healthier, more equitable future.